YouTube, what is going on, and welcome to a Pokemon Go video where I'm going to be showing you which Pokemon you are going to want to evolve and which Pokemon you are going to want to wait to evolve. To start off in this video, I am going to go over every single Pokemon on the game that I do have because I feel like the Pokemon that I have as a level 21 are going to be the Pokemon that most people have. I know I don't have a couple Pokemon, like a Geodude is apparently very common in some other places. I'm a level 21 and I still have never seen it. As you can tell, I have caught 72 Pokemon and seen 72 Pokemon. So everything I've seen, I've caught. So I feel like I have a pretty good basis, and let's just get into the video. I'm going to be going in alphabetical order. So starting off with the Abra. The Abra does have 2 evolutions, so it might not be super smart for you to upgrade the first ever Abra that you are available to evolve, and that is because the Alakazam is one of the strongest Pokemon on the game, and you definitely want a high level Abra to evolve into the next stage to finally evolve into an Alakazam. So it might be smarter to save up until 125 Abra candy, evolve your highest Abra, and then instantly evolve that into an Alakazam, and you will have a very high rated Alakazam that should be able to take down a lot of gyms. Next, we have the Bellsprout, and I actually messed up here because I actually have 2 Weepinbells up down here, and I have 67 Bellsprout candy. It takes 100 to evolve this. I'm actually not really sure what the third evolution is, but I messed up because the 612 Weepinbell probably is lower than this 556 Bellsprout will be. So I kind of messed up there by getting 2 Weepinbells. Also, the 331 is definitely not very good. You definitely should wait till 125 Bellsprout candy and evolve your highest Bellsprout, and don't get any Weepinbells. You'll probably find a Weepinbell along the way by the time you do get to 125 Bellsprout candy. So you will already have a Weepinbell by the time that you do get the third evolution of a Bellsprout. The Bulbasaur, I'm not really too sure, but I think you're pretty safe to evolve your first Bulbasaur. You're probably not going to get that many of the Bulbasaurs around, so it's going to take you a very long time to finally get. I do believe it is an Ivysaur, so you could evolve the first time that you do get 25 candy. I probably will, but it's probably not the smartest move if I'm being honest. Now we go into a Caterpie, and the Caterpie is one that I always do evolve into a Metapod, as you can see right here. I did just have to get rid of a lot of Metapods, and then also there are some of the third evolution of a Caterpie, which is the Butterfree. Now, the Caterpie is honestly a Pokemon that at this point of the game is basically useless for me, because even if I powered it up all the way, it still wouldn't be one of my top 6 Pokemon. So basically, besides gaining XP through catching the Pokemon and also evolving the Pokemon, there's really no point in me getting a Caterpie, because there's basically no way that the Caterpie is going to be fighting in any gym battles that I have. Clefairy is one that I do think you should evolve whenever you get 50 Clefairy candy, because there is only one evolution to the Clefairy. It's not like some other Pokemon where you have to spend 25 and then 100 to get the final evolution. This is just one time 50. So I feel like once you do get 50 Clefairy candy, you should evolve it into a Clefable. I did that with, I do believe, a 617 Clefairy, and it did turn into a 1273 Clefable, which is very solid. It is my 4th best Pokemon in terms of CP, I do believe. It does have 120 health points, which is really solid, and I definitely do think that you should instantly evolve that Clefable. We are looking at Cubone, and I definitely think you should evolve this Cubone when you get 50 Cubone candy, for the pure fact that it is only one evolution, so you're probably not going to get that many Cubones, and when you do get enough Cubones to evolve it, it's definitely going to be a pretty solid Pokemon. Probably not going to be the best Pokemon in your collection no matter what, but still a really solid Pokemon. This is actually a very interesting one because I have a Dewgong, but I've never found a seal, so I'm honestly not really too sure what you should do. I'm guessing that there is only one evolution, and actually I'm going to check. If you guys did not know how to check how many evolutions each of the Pokemon that you do catch have, You can go to the Pokédex, and yeah, only one evolution for the Dewgong. If I hit on something like the Bellsprout, it shows Bellsprout. Since I found a Weepinbell, it's there, and also there's a third evolution for it. If I click on the Abra, there are 3 evolutions for that. If I click on the Zubat, there are only 2 evolutions, but the Oddish, there are 3 evolutions. So if you ever want to know how many of each Pokemon evolutions there are, if you want to know if there's only 1 evolution, 2 evolutions, or even no evolutions, you can always go to your Pokédex, which is found right here, and look at how many evolutions that each of the Pokemon do have. Another way you can pretty much tell how many evolutions a Pokemon does have is by looking at how much candy it does take to evolve them. If it only takes 12 candy to evolve them, 25 candy to evolve them, it's more likely than not that is going to be 2 evolutions, where if it's 50 candy to evolve the Pokemon that you do have, it is probably only going to be 1 evolution. 50 or more, because I do know that stuff like a Magikarp does cost 400 Magikarp candy to evolve into the evolved stage of a Magikarp. Now we go into a Drowzee, and Drowzee is definitely one that I do think you should be evolving when you get 50 Drowzee candy. This is a very strong Pokemon at the start. As you can see, the Hypno is a very strong Pokemon. It has 946 CP for me, and it wasn't even the highest Drowzee. It was around 590. It was barely higher than this one. And for a lot of lower level players, people around the 10 to 17 range, Drowzee will be an evolved Drowzee will be one of your highest cards, so definitely do an evolution with your highest CP Drowzee, and you will definitely get a very solid Hypno. Eevee is one where it's a very unique situation for me. Where I live, I get a ton of Eevees. You just saw me evolve 3 Eevees into Jolteons, because I'm still mad about that I got 3 straight Jolteons. Even using the name trick once to get a Vaporeon, I still got 3 straight Eevees. I'm already at 10 Eevee candy, so I am not really that far off from getting another evolution. I normally wait till I do get 50 Eevee candy, and that might be something that you want to do if you are in a heavily populated Eevee area. You might want to wait till you get 50 candy, so then you definitely know which your top 2 Eevees are in terms of CP and evolve them. If you are in an area that has a lower amount of Eevees, I might consider waiting until you have 75 Eevees, doing 1 evolution, and then picking one of the other 2 that you don't have. So say you get a Jolteon, because everybody gets a Jolteon, it seems like. You could name it to Pyro or Rainier if the name glitch still works, and hopefully get one of those 2 Pokemon, and then save your 3rd evolution for whichever one you want, or just leave it up to chance, even though you'll probably get a Jolteon. Ekans is one that I did evolve instantly when I did get 50 Ekans candy, and as you can see, it is only a 965, so it's not even reaching my gym deck, but it's still a pretty solid card. Its Gunk Shot does do 60 damage, which is very solid. It's a pretty solid card. 78 HP is definitely not that bad, and an evolved Ekans looks pretty cool. You're definitely not going to have that many of these evolved Ekans, as Ekans are pretty rare. I do get a good amount of them from eggs, but still, I would evolve the Ekans right when you do get to 50 Ekans candy. The Execute is another card that I would definitely be evolving when you do hit 50 Execute candy. I cannot wait to see what this evolved Execute will be. 611 CP, and I caught this in the wild fresh. I do believe this is a very high percentage Execute. I will discuss the percentage thing that I am going to be talking about a couple times in a later video, probably tomorrow or Monday at the latest, talking about what the percentage means. And in the percentage video, I am going to tell you how good of a catch that you do find a Pokemon is, because it goes through the CP, the HP, how much Stardust it costs to power it up, and if you've ever powered it up before. It goes through some calculations. It shows you on a percentage scale from 0 to 100 and tells you how good it is. So if this Execute is at 611, it's probably around an 80th percentile Execute for my level, while if this Execute was at like 250, it would probably be at around a 20 percentile Execute. And it's a really cool website. It's telling you how good of a pull you are getting in the Execute. So say you do get an evolved Metapod, And let me go down to a Metapod. And the Metapod's only like 95. It'll show you on the percentage scale that that Metapod is very low. And you should not be evolving that Metapod into the third stage of a Caterpie, which is a Beedrill. So definitely make sure you are checking out that website. I will do a totally separate video going in depth on what this means and what you should be doing with your Pokemon. But this is more focusing on when you should be evolving your Pokemon, not which Pokemon you should be evolving. Now we go into a Gastly, and honestly, I probably messed up a little bit by evolving this Gastly, but I'm not really having too many regrets because if it is a new Pokemon and you have a lucky egg, you kind of have an excuse to evolve right when you do get to 25 Gastly candy. There it is, there's the evolved Gastly, a Haunter. Do only have 5 Gastly candy, but it's still pretty solid at 419. Definitely going to be much better when I do the third evolution. But if you don't have a Pokemon yet and do have a lucky egg on, you probably want to consider evolving it when you do get the 25 candy, but definitely not a guarantee. This Gloom is one that I cannot wait to see in the third stage of the evolution. I'm probably going to wait till I do get 125 Oddish candy to evolve this Gloom because some of my Oddishes are very high. So I'm going to see if this 540 Oddish is higher or lower than the Gloom when I do evolve it. And then whichever one is higher, the 540 Oddish evolved or the 808 Gloom evolved, will be the one that I do the final stage of the evolution for the Oddish. The Horsea is another one that I would definitely evolve right when you do hit 50 Horsea candy. You're probably not going to be using it in your deck, and it's definitely pretty cool to get an evolved Horsea to show off in your collection, and would just be another solid Pokemon that you would have. The Jigglypuff is another example, just like the Horsea, of it only has one evolution stage, so I would definitely recommend evolving the Jigglypuff right when you do get the 50 Jigglypuff candy. It's a pretty rare Pokemon, so by the time you do get 50 Jigglypuff candy, you should have a very high CP Jigglypuff, and it should make a very solid Pokemon after you do evolve it. A Koffing is another card that would probably evolve right when I do hit 50 Koffing candy. I've only caught one of these Koffings. I do believe I've seen 2 or 3 of them. I do remember one of them running away from me, even though it was only like a 115 CP. Pretty frustrating there, but definitely would be evolving the Koffing right when I hit 50 CP. The Krabby is another Pokemon that I would be evolving right when you do hit 50 CP, because it's going to be a pretty solid card, and I'm not sure if I do have an evolved Krabby. Let me check that out. I do have an evolved Paris. I know that. I don't think I have. No, I do not have an evolved Krabby. So I do only have, how many Krabby candies do I have? I have 34 Krabby candies. So when I do hit 50 Krabby candies, I should get a pretty high level evolved Krabby. So that would be pretty solid. Definitely a card that if you are going to be patient, I thoroughly recommend waiting until you get 125 Machop candies and getting a Machamp from your highest Machop, evolving it twice instantly. Definitely recommend doing this. Your Machamp could be absolutely fantastic. Do not instantly evolve this Machop into a Machoke, I do believe. Wait until you get 125 candy and then evolve this into a Machamp. It will be fantastic and probably one of your best Pokemon when you do get 125 Machop candy. I know it will take you a while, so if you probably aren't going to be playing the game for very long, I wouldn't really recommend it, but if you are willing to spend the time on this game, I definitely would recommend waiting it out. That's what I'm probably going to be doing. A Magikarp is definitely a Pokemon that is very useless. I mean, its normal move does 0 damage. Wow. I think it is known to be the weakest Pokemon on the game, but do not leave these guys alone. A Gyarados would be absolutely fantastic for anyone. It's a super strong Pokemon, and it takes 400 Magikarp candy, so it's going to be a very long time to get that. Magmar is the first Pokemon that I have that doesn't have an evolution, so you can't really do anything with it. I have 18 Magmar candy, and I'm not touching this until I get a high raid Magmar, and then probably will use some Stardust and power it up. Magnemite is a Pokemon that I cannot wait to get this evolved. At 439 CP, it should be a very solid card once I do, very solid Pokemon once I do evolve it, and I'm really excited to see an evolved Magnemite I just really want to see what the special move it is going to be and how good it is going to be in battles. Mankey, once again, is another Pokemon. Right when you get to 50 Mankey Candy, you do want to evolve that. Meowth, the same thing. 50 Candy, evolve that one instantly. A Nidoran, female and male, go by the same basis. You definitely want to get probably one Nidorina and Nidorino, but besides that, do not evolve anymore. I evolved these guys twice, and if I didn't do that, I would have 75 Nidoran Candy and 75 Nidoran Candy for female and male respectively, and I would be very close to evolving this Nidorina into a Nidoqueen, and this is going to be crazy. A 775 Nidorina is absolutely insane. It is in, I do believe, around the 82nd percentile for Nidorinas because of its 775 CP, 81 health points, and also it costs 2,500 Stardust to power it up, and this Nidorina is going to be crazy. All I need is about 13 more female Nidorans that I am going to be catching, and I will get myself a crazy good Nidoqueen. I'm super excited to get this. And same thing for the Nidorino. A 605 Nidorino is very solid and should be a very solid Nidoking. But once again, I did mess up and did 2 evolutions of the Nidorino. So maybe do one of the Nidoran evolutions for each of them, but definitely do not do 2 of them like I did. Wait it out, and eventually you will have 100 or 125 Nidoran Candy to evolve your Nidoran into a Nidorina or Nidorino, and then instantly into a Nido King or Queen. And Oddish is one that I did already evolve only once so far, and I also found an Oddish in the wild. I'm definitely waiting until I get 125 Oddish Candy. I am going to evolve this Oddish, or whichever my highest CP Oddish is at the time when I do get 125 Oddish Candy, and comparing it to the Gloom that I already have that is in the low 800s, and whichever one is higher, I am going to do the final stage of the evolution. I have already briefly mentioned it in this video, but wanted to mention it again. Now we look at a Paras, and a Paras is a card I actually did just evolve into a Parasect, and a Parasect honestly isn't that good because it didn't get into my gym battles, and honestly, it's not really a card that's even worth getting for me unless it's under 100 or over 400, like 30 for me right now, because that's the only way the Parasect is going to be decent. And I'm saying this because any Paras that is over 100 but less than 300, all it's good for is the candy, and if it's like that, it's going to be very hard for me to catch the Paras, so it could be pretty difficult for me to catch the Paras, and if it's just for the Paras candy, sometimes it's not really worth it, so sometimes I do actually give up Pokemon. A lot of Pidgeys that are above 150, I do not even try and catch because I know it's likely that they are going to pop out of the first Pokeball that I throw at it, and it's not worth it throwing 2-3 Pokeballs at just a Pidgey that I'm going to find a lot of under 50 CP Pidgeys, and that's what I mostly go for. Pidgeys and Weedles and Rattaz that are under 50, I do try and catch all of them. And Pidgeys is a very interesting card because when I was at around level 15, my 2 highest rated my 2 highest rated Pokemon, I'm not sure why I keep wanting to call Pokemon cards, because they just feel like figures and I'm used to dealing with cards, but my 2 highest rated Pokemon were 2 Pidgeots, and before you reach level 20, I would definitely say catch all your Pidgeys that you can. Definitely get all the Pidgeys that you can. Power up the Pidgey if you want to. I wouldn't totally recommend that, but I wouldn't say you wasted your Stardust by powering up the Pidgeots. As you can see, these things were maxed before I reached level 21. They're very solid Pidgeots, and at 1168 CP and 1131 CP, they are very strong, and I was using them in the gym for about 2-3 days. They were my 2 best Pokemon, and I obviously got some better Pokemon like I do have now. I do believe they are my 5th and 6th or 6th and 7th best Pokemon that I do have right now, so they're still very viable, but after this, in about 3-4 days, they're going to be like my 9th best Pokemon, and I'm rarely ever going to use these unless there's a very weak gym and I do want to just throw a Pidgeot at the gym. But I would be getting all of the Pidgeys when you are a lower level, and then at the higher level, be more selective with the Pidgeys, be smart, don't be wasting 5 to 10 Pokeballs on just one Pidgey. It's not going to be worth it. But as a lower level, definitely get all the Pidgeys. They could be a very solid card for you and one of your best cards in your deck. A Poliwag is a card that I do want to wait to get the third evolution because I do believe it does have 3 evolutions. The 25 candy does show me that it probably does have 3 evolutions. Yes, as you can see right there, it does have 3 different types of the Pokemon. So I am probably going to be waiting until I get 125 Poliwag candy to evolve both of them. I might just evolve one into a Poliwag I might evolve one Poliwag when I get 25 candy and then just worry about there. But I definitely would not recommend having multiple evolved Poliwags before you get the third stage of the Pokemon. If you get only one thing from this video is that you can't get more than one second stage of a Pokemon that you don't have a third stage of a Pokemon. And you should definitely be waiting until you get 125 candy so you can see if your first stage Pokemon evolved into a second stage Pokemon is better than the second stage Pokemon that you already have and evolve that one, because you want the best third stage Pokemon that you can get, because those are the Pokemon that are going to be going into your gym battles and you want to have the strongest Pokemon for your gym battles. The next one is a Ponyta, and this one only does have 1 evolution, as you can tell by the 50 candy that it does take to evolve it. And at 737, this is a very solid Ponyta. I actually did just get this today when I was in the car. I was not driving. I was in the passenger seat, and I did find this on the street, and it was a really solid pull for me. 58 HP is pretty solid, and 2,200 to power up is going to be pretty good. I'm thinking this probably will be my best Ponyta by the time I do reach 50 Ponyta candy, so hopefully it's a pretty solid evolved Ponyta. Psyduck, I do only have 1 Psyduck, and a lot of YouTubers I watch get a ton of Psyduck, but I'm just not really finding any Psyduck. I've only found 1 Psyduck. I did catch it, and it was this one. Definitely not the best CP, not really a good Psyduck at all. But I probably would evolve this right when I do get to 50 Psyduck candy. I'll probably have a very high CP Psyduck by the time I do hit that. Raticate is a Pokemon that used to be really strong for me. Back when I was like a level 12, I do believe, like 3 of my top 10 Pokemon were Raticates, but at this point, Raticates are legitimately useless to me, and also Rattatas. So besides for the XP, I don't really catch Rattatas unless they're CP, as you can see a CP 10 right here. Unless they're CP 50 and below, I am not going to touch a Rattata, because no matter how high that Rattata is, even when it's evolved into a Raticate, it's not going to be coming close to Pokemon I am going to be using in the gym. So there's no point in me getting it besides for the XP, so I can be selective and only get the lower Rattatas. A Rhyhorn is another Pokemon that when I do hit 50 Rhyhorn candy, I am going to be evolving it. Hopefully it's a pretty solid evolution. It looks like a pretty strong card. 78 HP for 376 CP Pokemon is very solid. Could be pretty good in the gym. Its normal attack is pretty weak, so it might take a while to defeat the different Pokemon in the gym. And now we go into a Scyther. Scyther actually does not have an evolution, so this will be the only stage that it will go into. And I mean, I'm not using my Scyther candy at all right now. I'm hoping to find a really high level Scyther and use all my Scyther candy on that one. And now we go into a Goldeen, which I actually haven't found a Goldeen yet, but I found a Seaking. This and the Dewgong, which I haven't found a seal, are the only 2 Pokemon that I have a second stage but do not have a first stage of the Pokemon. So I'm not really too sure what you should do. I'm guessing that once you do hit 50 Goldeen candy, you should be evolving it into a Seaking, but I'm not 100% sure about that at the moment. A Shellder is another Pokemon that I am going to be evolving right when I do hit 50 Shellder candy. Hopefully I have a Shellder at around 500, maybe 550 by the time I do hit 50 Shellder candy. And now we look at a Spearow, and Spearows are honestly useless to me because, as you can see from the, where is the evolved Spearow? Fearow, this is only 843. That's not coming close to getting into my gym battle. So at this point in the game, Spearows are basically useless to me besides for the XP, just like Weedles are, just like Raticates are, just like Caterpies are, just like Pidgeys are for me at this point, just listing off the Pokemon that really are only there for me right now to catch them for experience and evolving them one stage and not worrying about them anytime else. Now we look at a Staryu, and I only have 7 Staryu candy. Definitely, as you can tell, not by a heavy water area where there are a lot of Pokemon. I haven't really gone to anywhere like the beach or by the lake to catch Pokemon. But I am going to be evolving this Staryu when I do hit 50 Staryu candy. Hopefully it will be at around 350 when I do get the 50 Staryu candy. Now we look at a Tangela, and a Tangela is another Pokemon that doesn't have an evolution. I'm hoping to catch a Tangela at around 1,000 pretty soon, and then powering that up with the Tangela candy that I do have so it can be one of my best Pokemon. Tauros is another Pokemon that does not have an evolution, so I would definitely wait on your Tauros. Wait till you get a really high CP Tauros and then start powering up that Tauros so it is available to go into your gym battles. And honestly, if the Tauros is not going to go into your gym battles, even if you can power it up to the max, do not even touch the Tauros and power it up. Now we look at a Tentacool, and a Tentacool is a Pokemon that I am going to be evolving right when I do hit 50 Tentacool candy. Squirtle is my starter Pokemon. As you can tell, it is called the #1 pick. Look at that awesome Pokemon, my favorite Pokemon in the game. But I did mess up by using all my Squirtle candy at the start, so the only candy that I do have of the Squirtle is from the evolved Squirtle that I did get. I will be showing you guys a little bit later on in this video. But I definitely messed up with that. Do not use your Squirtle candy on a starter Pokemon. Save your candy, save your Stardust, and use it later on. And now we look at a Pikachu, and Pikachu is another card that it does only have one evolution, as you can tell by the 50 candy. That does take to evolve a Pikachu, and Pikachu is a card that I am going to be evolving right when I do hit 50 Pikachu candy. A Venonat is another card that has become pretty useless to me because this 1004 Venomoth was around a 500 something Venonat, a mid 500s, not like 510. I do believe it was over 530 and only became 1004. That's not even in my top 6. I think it's around 8th or 9th best Pokemon that I do have. So Venonat is another Pokemon that I'm not really going to be touching. Voltorb is actually a pretty rare Pokemon in some areas, but it's a Pokemon I have caught a fair amount of and definitely am going to be evolving it when I hit 50 Voltorb candy. Weedle, as I mentioned before, is a useless Pokemon besides for the experience as a Kakuna. It's absolutely horrible, and then the final evolution of Beedrill is almost as bad. Weedle's definitely not worth it unless you're looking for a ton of XP at the start. I caught every single Weedle from like level 1 to level 15, and I evolved so many Weedles when I was at level 13. It was just ridiculous. I got a crazy amount of XP, but besides doing that, Weedles are useless. They're never going to be seen in the gym. A Weedle, a Kakuna, or a Beedrill. So once you hit my level, definitely not worth it unless you're finding an under 50 CP Weedle. As you can tell, all the Weedles I do have are under 50 CP because it's very unlikely for them to pop out of your Pokeball, even though the 46 and 42 Weedle did pop out of my Pokeball. But that's a topic for another day. And now we finally get down to a Zubat, and Zubat is one that I definitely would evolve right when you do hit 50 Zubat candy. When you are at around a level 17, an evolved Zubat could be one of your best Pokemon. My first ever Golbat was around my 3rd best Pokemon when I did get it, and the Zubat was barely over 300, so definitely an evolved Zubat could be very solid in your Pokédex at an early level. At this point, it's not really worth it to me catch any high-level Zubats, so I'm only going for the low-level Zubat, and if I see any Zubats over 300, I might try for them, but anything in the 150 to 299 range, I'm not really going to be touching. And that'll wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed some tips and tricks on when to upgrade your Pokemon. I'm going to be coming out with another video sometime soon telling you what exact Pokemon you should be using, and a very cool website that'll help you out with this. And that will wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe for more Pokemon Go content on this channel and other Pokemon Go tips and tricks in the future.